There's something heavy about waking up with 100 thoughts already racing through your mind. The to-do lists, the messages left unanswered, the responsibilities waiting like a line of people at your door. For so many of us, the moment we open our eyes, we're already behind, already anxious, already scrolling, comparing, reacting. We live in a time where peace is treated like a luxury and rushing is worn like a badge of honor. And in that blur, something sacred is lost. We forget to pause, to breathe, to align. We forget to start with presence. You see, the pace of your day is not set by the world around you. It's set by what you choose to honor first. Before the meetings, before the chaos, before the noise, there is a choice. Will you start with connection, or will you start with control? Most people start with control, trying to force the day into shape. But what if, just for once, you didn't start your day by trying to manage it all? What if you started your day by surrendering it? That's not weakness. That's wisdom. There is something powerful that happens when you invite God into your morning, not just through a rushed prayer, but through a real conversation. A whisper that says, "Lead me. I don't want to run ahead of you today." This isn't about religion. This is about rhythm. And Jesus taught that rhythm better than anyone. He didn't start with hustle. He started with quiet, with awareness, with intentional time with the Father before the crowd showed up. That was his rhythm, and it can be yours too. When you begin your day in surrender, something shifts inside you. Your choices become clearer. Your emotions become steadier. Your spirit finds its anchor before the wind even starts blowing. That single moment before the emails, before the pressure, where you open your hands and say, "Set the pace of my heart," can change everything. Because that's when you stop performing and you start walking. That's when you stop rushing to prove your worth and start remembering that you already have it. And here's the beautiful part, it doesn't end there. That awareness, that connection, it walks with you. Jesus never taught people to check in with God once a day and then handle the rest on their own. No, he taught something deeper. Relationship. Conversation that continues. Presence that stays. So as you drive to work, as you walk into class, as you sit in silence between conversations, he's there. You can whisper, "What do you think?" and listen. You don't need candles or a church pew to hear his voice. You just need intention. He is not limited by setting. He is invited by attention. But that brings us to the second part of the rhythm. Because starting with presence is powerful. But what happens next? This is where many of us get stuck. We hear. We feel nudged. We sense what we need to do. But we hesitate. We wait for more signs. We look for second confirmations. We journal about it for weeks. But here's the hard truth. Faith that stays in the journal doesn't transform your life. Jesus never called people to sit on their calling. He said, "Follow me." And that word, follow, is active. It means move. When your spirit knows what to do, delay becomes disobedience. It doesn't matter how afraid you feel. What matters is that you trust. Because God never asks you to finish the journey in one step. He just asks you to start. Start writing that proposal. Start that conversation. Start applying. Start showing up. You don't need to have the full map. You just need to take the next faithful step. When Peter saw Jesus on the water, he didn't get a step-by-step guide. He just heard, "Come." And he moved. That's faith. Moving with trembling hands but a steady heart. Choosing obedience before outcome. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in your life will come not when you're completely ready, but when you're just willing. Willing to respond. Willing to walk even when you're unsure. Obedience is the bridge between the life you're praying for and the life you're living. It's not about perfection. It's about response. When you act on what you know, heaven meets you in motion. That's where you find the supernatural, not in sitting, but in stepping. But let's be real, what usually stops us from stepping? Fear. Not the dramatic horror movie kind. The quiet, lingering fear. Fear of failing. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of disappointing people. Fear that you're not enough. And when fear creeps in, we often try to fight it by pretending to be strong. We push harder, talk louder, distract ourselves. But here's what Jesus modeled. It's not more noise that calms fear, it's truth. It's not strength that wins the battle, it's remembrance. When fear rises, the most powerful thing you can do is speak truth over yourself. Out loud. Even if it feels awkward. Even if no one is listening. Say it anyway. I am not alone. I am called. I am not building this by myself. Why? Because your words shape your mindset. And your mindset shapes your reality. The same way Jesus spoke to the storm, you must speak to the storm inside you. Not because you're trying to impress God, but because you're reminding your soul of what He already said. When your words align with His truth, fear starts to lose its grip. Darkness hates clarity. And every time you speak truth, you turn on a light. Let's be honest, sometimes life doesn't go the way we imagined. You try hard, you pray, you plan, and still things fall apart. Doors close, people leave, efforts fail. And in those moments, something inside you starts to question. Why would God let this happen? Did I hear Him wrong? Was my faith not enough? These are not weak questions. These are human questions. And if you've ever asked them, you're not broken, you're just growing. Because Jesus never promised a path without storms. But He did promise something deeper. You'll never walk through them alone. See, here's where many of us get stuck. We expect that if we're doing everything right, life should be smooth. But that's not how growth works. And that's not how faith works. Some of the most powerful things God will ever build in you are formed in the waiting, in the disappointment, in the not yet. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Jesus Himself knew rejection. He knew betrayal. He knew what it meant to cry alone in a dark place and still say, "Not my will, but yours." That level of trust doesn't come from comfort. It comes from surrender. So the next time something doesn't work out the way you hoped, ask yourself this. What if this delay is not a denial, but a redirection? What if the closed door isn't rejection, it's protection? What if the no you're facing today is making space for a better yes tomorrow? Don't confuse silence with absence. Just because you don't feel Him doesn't mean He isn't moving. Jesus taught us this. Real trust is not proven when everything is clear. It's proven when nothing is. And yet you keep walking. That's faith. That's maturity. That's the moment heaven sees your surrender and responds with strength. But let's go even deeper. Because once you understand that your delays are divine, you stop fighting life and start flowing with it. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this building in me? That shift alone can unlock a peace that makes no sense to the world. Because now, instead of striving for control, you're standing in confidence. You know that what God starts, He finishes. You know that your story is still being written. And even if this chapter hurts, it's not the end. And this is where another powerful lesson from Jesus comes in. One that we often forget in the busyness of life. Loving others even when they don't deserve it. Not just the people who are easy to love, the ones who praise you, support you, compliment you. That's easy. That's natural. But Jesus taught something radical. He said, love your enemies. Forgive those who hurt you. Serve those who can't repay you. And if we're honest, that's where it gets real. Because nothing tests your character more than being kind to someone who misunderstood you, or staying gentle when you were judged unfairly. But here's the truth. Every time you love when it's hard, you grow. You rise above your ego. You break cycles of bitterness. You become free. Not weak, free. Because unforgiveness is like carrying poison in your soul, hoping it hurts someone else. It doesn't. It only hurts you. And when you let go, not for them, but for you, something shifts inside. You get lighter. You get clearer. You create space for God's healing. That's why Jesus lived that way. Because love is not just an emotion, it's a weapon. A way to win battles without raising your voice. A way to silence hate without revenge. A way to live free in a world full of chains. But to love like that, to respond like that, you need a deep inner strength. And that strength doesn't come from books, titles, or applause. It comes from what Jesus showed us in His most painful moment. Intimacy with the Father. The kind of closeness that says, even if the world misunderstands me, I'm still secure. Even if I'm alone, I'm still seen. Even if I'm betrayed, I'm still loved. That kind of confidence doesn't make you proud. It makes you unshakable. Because your identity is no longer built on what people say. It's built on who you know God to be. So if you're feeling dry, distracted, or discouraged today, come back. Not to more effort, but to more intimacy. Come back to the one who already knows your fears, your mess, your desires, and still chooses you. Come back to the rhythm that Jesus lived. A rhythm of trust, surrender, love, and connection. Because that's where the real power is. Not in performance, but in presence. Not in being perfect, but in being anchored. And when you live from that place, everything changes, not overnight, but from the inside out. You don't just survive, you shine.